Now, we are speaking about a celebration, actually, the 50th anniversary of the Black Power movement. And with me to chat about that this morning, it is Reverend Lennox Toussaint, who is of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Port of Spain. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now, it's a wonderful celebration for an entity to have existed for 50 years. Tell us about the Black Power movement and, you know, what their primary function is before we go into it.
Let me put it in perspective. I look around the room here and I don't see anybody who was around in 1970. So it means that you have an open invitation to come to the cathedral on next Wednesday. So this is Carnival Wednesday, and next Wednesday is Ash Wednesday.
Right.
So Ash Wednesday at 9 o'clock, there's going to be a mass at the cathedral. NJAC approached Archbishop Jason Gordon about coming together to celebrate that 50th anniversary. And the Archbishop took up the challenge. He was happy to run with it. So come next Wednesday, we are going to have a mass at the cathedral, a mass that is going to ask some questions. It's now 50 years later. What were we protesting about? What were the protests about in 1970? Have we solved that problem? Where are we 50 years later? If we've not, then what is our next step?
Right.
You know, how do we pull this together? So it is something that is not only memorable and historic for us, and that's why I say some of the young people here, if Lisa will let them go, they could make it to the
Oh, I have no control over that.
So your program will be over.
Yeah, we'd have some time.
And you will hear a lot about the movement, what progress has been made, because once we say the Black Power movement, most of the times you listen to people and you look at them and they say the Black Power movement, like, but that was something bad. It really wasn't. You know, people looked at the society, they found certain things were not what they should be in the society.
Right.
And they decided, look, we need to straighten these things out. Now, there are a number of people who were around in 1970 who could tell you how they benefited from what took place. You understand? One of the things that we don't talk about much, but we need to remember, two of the things. One is, at that time, the Archbishop was Anthony Pantin.
Right.
And Anthony Pantin had decided to go on a march to Cuba with the Black Power movement until he was persuaded to not go. So he didn't go. But then what is also memorable about that is his brother, Jerry Pantin, left his teaching profession and decided to open Serval. Serval is one of the most powerful institutions in the country today. Serval has produced a number of young people who are major contributors to the society today.
Right.
So these are some of the things that we need to really remember what came out of that. What came out of that is that people who had talent but didn't have the right ethnicity, let us say, they were given an opportunity after 1970. A lot of them took it like a baton in a relay and they ran with it. And today they could tell you how successful they are because of that opportunity. So we're going to reflect on that. And we're going to ask ourselves some hard questions. One, how did we get where we are?
Right.
And two, where do we go from here? What's the goal? How do we get to that goal? You know? So,
Lennox, I just want to jump in there. Why is it important for NJAC to collaborate with the Catholic Church to host this Mass on Ash
beautiful
Wednesday?
question. One of the significant things about February 26th, 1970 is that NJAC took to the streets in protests mainly about Sir George Williams University in Canada, and the treatment was being meted out there to not only Trinidadians but Caribbean people generally. And they went into the banks that morning, the Canadian banks, protesting. And from the banks, they decided to go to the cathedral. Now, there is this belief that they went into the cathedral and painted the statues in black. That is not so. They draped the statues in black cloth, all right? Because they thought there was an imbalance in the society, all right? 50 years have gone, and they look back at it and they say, listen, let's commemorate this. because we're not sure that there's anything that has happened in the last 50 years that has benefited the people of Trinidad and Tobago like those protests.
Mhm.
So it is the coming together of that special celebration. So inside of there, you're going to hear from Archbishop Gordon. You're going to hear from representatives or a representative from NJAC. And there are going to be one or two little solo performances.
Performances as well. So
Well, you had to
entertainment as
flavor
well.
the thing. One of the things we need to understand is that we are a gifted nation. Lots of us don't respect the gifts that God has given to us. But when we reflect on it, we see that God has given us modern day philosophers, modern day prophets. You know, you could throw your mind back to any calypso, just pull out some lyrics and see how they fit into today's scenes. You know, and we don't see these people as philosophers. We don't see them as prophets. We don't see them as seen down the road.
Would
You
you
know.
know? Would you know if this is the beginning of the anniversary celebrations? This is perhaps the launch of the anniversary celebrations for the rest of the year.
I suspect it will be.
Right.
It's a great jump off point.
All right.
So on Tuesday, when the Mass, M-A-S, comes to an end, on Wednesday, a few hours after,
Yeah.
the M-A-S-S,
Yeah.
the Mass will be said.
All right. And that's at the cathedral.
At the Cathedral
Yeah,
of the Immaculate Conception, Independence Square, 9 in the morning. All are invited, particularly young people, so that they understand, they get a little taste of what happened back then. So when they ask the question, how did we get here? You understand,
Yeah.
right? The bigger thing is, where do we go from here?
And that is the bigger question to
Yeah.
ask and, of course, answer.
Mhm.
And, you know, again, with everyone coming together, working toward the movement, you know, there's greater chance of success.
That exactly is what it needs. Everyone coming together and moving forward, thanking God for what He's given us and saying we're going to maximize this. We're going forward with this.
All right. That's a wonderful note to leave it on, Reverend Lennox Touset. Thank you so much for coming and sharing that with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.